How's it going? I'm Emily Hadouch.
And I'm Olivia Ho. Have you ever wished you had an extra hour in your day?
Well, now you do. Welcome to the 25th Hour, a production of the Carleton School of Journalism and Communication. Today, we'll hear about a woman who is an office worker by day, but spends her night living in a fantasy world.
Also, we learn about a young man who had to redefine his purpose in life after a trampoline accident.
And we sit down and chat with a woman who has dedicated her life to drug advocacy after the tragic death of her daughter.
To start off, though, our focus turns to birds. 1 billion birds die every year from colliding with the glass windows of city skyscrapers. But what happens to these birds after they crash? We caught up with one Ottawa woman who knows the answer to that question all too well.
My heart races. So the second you see one, you go into emergency mode, and basically it's running. Every other thought goes out the window. It's getting him into a spot that's quiet, where he can rest, shake it off, hopefully. Any amount of stress that they have can be that thing that tips them over between surviving the strike and not surviving the strike. Basically, I arrive downtown every morning. I try and get here before sunup to look for birds. So I patrol around the buildings downtown, going up and around near the windows to find birds that have collided. Dead ones we do collect for scientific study and to log and map and see what's coming through and where they're hitting. And the live ones we try and help. I work at a building downtown that is completely mirrored on all surfaces. And I think it was probably around 2011 or 2012. There was a year that there were a lot of chickadees. It was like a boom in the chickadee population. And so there were a lot of young ones dispersing that year, and they were hitting my window at work. So they were hitting every 10, 15 minutes. You'd hear a thud, that really sickening thud. And I'd run downstairs to see what it was, and usually pick up a dead body. I was patrolling from the beginning, and I'd get up, and some mornings I'd get up, and some mornings I'd be like, oh, I just can't do it. But when I found the first live bird, and he made it and was released later that day, that was it. That was it, I was hooked. So ever since then, I've been going out bright and early every morning. By far, the worst part, and it happened to me this week, is when you see one fall and it doesn't die immediately, but it dies in your hands. So the one I found this week was a Tennessee warbler, and he hit hard. I saw him flutter to the ground, and he was flailing quite a bit, which they don't tend to do, but this one was really trying to right himself. And it was kind of obvious he wasn't long for the world. His body was going to full flexion and his beak was gaping open, but it took him a minute, probably a full minute to die. And that's hard. For me, it's the long-term goal of making people aware of the problem, working with buildings to treat the surfaces of the buildings or do other things. Some of the things don't even require much effort or any cost. For me, it's one bird out of 1 billion that hit, fair enough. But for that bird, it's his entire existence. Like, that's his entire life. When I get up in the morning, just knowing that there are birds sitting at the base of a building that are injured, that need help, that's what gets me up every morning.
Our passions are what keep us going. For some of us, they wake us up at the crack of dawn.
For others like me, they keep us going late into the night.
This is something Caitlin Lillian totally understands. She has a passion for creating intricate handmade fantasy costumes. By spending hundreds of hours huddled over her sewing machine, she slowly brings her fantasies to life.
I'm Caitlin Lillian, I'm 24 and I'm from Ottawa, Canada. I work in an office setting, so it's mostly just administrative work. Can't say too much else about it. I've been sewing for about 10 or 11 years now, but I only started really making costumes seriously about 2 or 3 years ago. For me, it's definitely my passion, and it's something that I'd eventually like to pursue as a career. I've always been a gamer, like, since I was a little kid. I remember the first video game I ever played, I think I was like 5, and it was Tomb Raider. My interest in making costumes extended from always being into that. I also made a lot of my own clothes during high school because I was into like goth style, and there was no Hot Topic when I was in high school, so you kind of had to make it yourself. Most of my stuff was really ugly, but I'd like force myself to wear it anyway because I'm like, I made this, I'm proud. I have social anxiety disorder, so it's like very hard for me to like go out and talk to people like just on my own. There's no way I would just like strike up a conversation with someone. But being in costume, I wouldn't say it like reduces your inhibitions, but because you have the costume on, you feel more like the character, so it's almost like you're stealing confidence from the character that you're portraying. So it becomes easier to kind of talk to people and get out of that shell. It's really awesome. I love like the princess and ball gown and historical costumes because I like that feeling of being like princessy and like regal. I mean, the warrior costumes are fun, but I much prefer to do the princess, so.
And do you feel like a princess?
Yeah. So there's like a hoop skirt and then a petticoat underneath that I made to give it like the amount of poops that it has. The whole thing's made out of satin except for like there's an overlay here that's sheer and it's made of wool, so like curtain material. I made rosettes that go around the edge just to add a little more detail, but for the most part it's a simpler design so that it really looks like the Disney kind of princessy thing. That took about like 300 hours. I'm doing a lot more elaborate things now, so they're more I find in like 200-hour range. It's kind of something that's always in the back of my mind, even when I'm at work. I want to just get home and work on it, because it's like, now I get to be fully creative. So that's why it's kind of a motivation for me. There's a lot of people who are unsatisfied with their regular jobs, and they might have a hobby that they're secretly passionate about, but if you kind of pursue it, you can kind of decide are you passionate enough about this to turn it into your career, or is it something that's just kind of fulfilling to do on the side? You kind of have to make time for it. If you're passionate enough that you're motivated to do it, you'll find a way to like move your schedule around. Oftentimes people say they don't have time for it, but if you kind of look at what you're doing in your day, often we spend like hours and hours watching TV or like going on social media, and you could be doing something that's probably more rewarding than that.
Our next character isn't into wearing dresses, but his passion still causes him to dress up. Each morning, Carleton University student Shakes Tomar paints his face white and black before he heads to school. With music blasting in his ears, this metalhead is trying to find others who think the same way.
My name is Love Tomar. I go by the name Shakes. Please don't ask why. It's a memory on a drunken night that I don't have anymore. I'm an electrical engineering student here at Carleton U, continuing my 4th year. Oh, and of course, I'm the chief executive of the Metal Ravens. Forgot about that, almost.
I, the son of man, the offspring of a stellar race.
Frosh week was the worst week of my life. I wasn't attracted to the events that were going on. The music that was playing was just, well, bullshit in my opinion. It was a pretty sad week for me, I'm not gonna lie. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Stop crying like a little baby, get up. Let's go find some people to jam with. The Metal Ravens is a student association at Carleton U. We're under CUSA. And we put on events for students and other people around Ottawa. October 2009, a buddy of mine suggested this one song called The Dance of Death by Iron Maiden. I heard it for the first time ever, and I was like, what is this nonsense? What am I listening to here? It just seemed really strange, the music at the time. But it got me more curious though. And for the next month or two, the only music I ever listened to was that one single song. All right, well, the trickiest part I would say is the eyes. Face paint, for me especially, it's sort of a sign of rebellion, just saying that I don't do what you do. Just rebellion against a regular way of life. All I have to do is sit, blast my music, paint my face, and the people, my people, the metalheads, will come to me. The metal community is like a family, pretty much. We feel like we actually belong in one group within this university. All right, I just realized I forgot one thing. Blood. Both the face paint and the blood on my face are signs of black metal music. I can actually talk to people easier. Like, it's easier to talk to people when I'm like this than it is when I'm not, well, than it is when I'm human. Yeah.
Yeah, it's black and white metal face over here, right? Yeah.
I've seen him a couple times.
I think he's one of the most iconic figures of Carleton.
I mean, it's not my kind of music, but the guy's kind of do what he wants to do.
Kudos to him for doing this stuff. He looks just like Kiss, right? He looks like Gene Simmons just chilling here.
No. You've never seen him? Have you ever heard loud music as you walk through?
Probably not, no.
The Metal Ravens is my creation, and you know, it's like Dr. Frankenstein. You're gonna be happy with your own monster, no one else is gonna be happier with it. Same thing with me and the Metal Ravens.
Now we'd like to welcome Kevin Nimick. He helped film and produce that last piece we watched. So Kevin, what do you think about Shakes and his passion for metal music?
Well, it was a lot of fun to film that piece because it's amazing to work with someone who has no reservations about what he cares about. And what he cares about is metal music. When we were in his room, he just had stacks of metal band t-shirts just littered all around. So we asked him to tell us a bit about them. He would hold them up, tell us an amazing story, why the band matters to him, why a song matters to him, and it was really special to us.
He sounds like a real character. Must have been great working with somebody as spirited as Shakes. But now I understand you're going to share some more emotional pieces with us?
While some passions result in fun stories, others can lead to tragedies. In 2012, Brent Babcock was a top-ranked trampolinist in Canada, spending hours on the mat. He was looking forward to a future in the sport until one day that year, an accident left him paralyzed. Now, the 21-year-old from Kingston is showing the world that his wheelchair will not define him.
When you're 18 and you lose all of that, it's devastating. My name's Brett Babcock. I'm 21 years old, and I've been in my wheelchair for almost 3 years. So I started trampoline at the age of 7, so around grade 2, I had a trampoline in my backyard. By the age of 9, I was competing on Team Ontario, and by 14, I made my first Canadian national team and competed in New Zealand. And by the age of 18, that's when I went senior, but my career basically ended halfway through my first senior year of competitive trampoline. In the beginning, there were quite a few of those days where I didn't want to get out of my bed and face the fact that I had quadriplegia, but it's definitely something I've overcome now. I'm more motivated to get up and do something and be active and feel better about myself. So going to the gym, I just appreciate that I'm able to even move my arms and be allowed the privilege to go to the gym, because initially I couldn't move anything. So I think I always look back to who I was in 2012 in the hospital when I could barely move, and I think that guy definitely motivates me because he was so optimistic even though he had basically nothing, no mobility. So I think I owe it to him to at least get out of bed, because I'm totally better off than how he was. Very freeing being in my wheelchair racer because I go way faster than my regular day chair, and it's nice to just be on my own, going fast and on the track. It's definitely therapeutic, and what comes of it is just like an extra bonus. Like I really do the sport because I love it, and wherever it takes me, like that's just extra. So right now I'm training about 4 times a week in my actual racing chair, and I'm going to the gym about 3 times a week. But I am trying for the Paralympics at some point. I'll be training for Rio this summer. Motivation I found last year actually came in one of my disability studies courses, and it described disability in a totally different aspect that I never even thought of myself. I always thought of disability as a physical impairment within a person, and this class talked about a social definition of disability, saying that it resides within society through physical barriers and social oppression. And I think after hearing that definition of disability, I felt so much better about myself, and it motivated me to pursue an education in disability studies. So I do a few speaking events for disability. I do sport and sexuality. Those are 2 like keynote presentations that I've done. Also, I've done motivational speaking, and I think it's just really important for people to understand that we just go about our lives in a different way, but we still do the exact same things. My chair is called Tabs for Chairs. It's essentially collecting beer and pop can tabs and selling them at scrap metal companies for money. In return, the money goes towards a family that is unable to afford medical equipment for their child. I think what happened, the reason I started doing charity work, especially for buying equipment, was at 19, I had to buy a $15,000 wheelchair, which I think is ridiculous. Initially when the accident happened, I think something deep down in me told me that this is kind of it. I know a lot of people are so bent and torn about being able to walk again, but I think the severity of my accident really hit me when it first happened. The initial days in the hospital, I think one sentence I said so many times was, "I'm trapped in a body I hate," because I couldn't move anything. I was in so much pain. I had no independence whatsoever. Overcoming that barrier took time for sure. I'm not necessarily sure how I did it. I think it was just the person inside me who was optimistic and accepting that I wasn't going to be able-bodied again. I'm lucky that I'm that kind of person who is able to deal with what I have now and make the best of it, rather than go into a dark hole for the rest of my life, because I still want to be able to accomplish things like I would have accomplished before. You can measure it in different ways, but I feel like I'm more proud of the person I am today than the person I was before.
In the small village of Merrickville, Ontario, bad news travels fast, and there's been a lot of bad news lately. However, with such a tight-knit atmosphere, this community outside of Ottawa always rallies together and stands strong.
Merrickville is a gift. It really is a gift.
It's a small town with a big heart.
Merrickville is the jewel of the Rideau.
Merrickville, like so many communities in our country, it's the heart and soul of our country, but it has a heart and soul. It has character, it has color, it has vibrancy, it has structure to it. So when folks have a challenge and the community rises to participate in the answer, it affects the community, absolutely. When you look at what is being done, whether it's a significant fundraiser, whether it's the neighbors are helping the family at the corner house, it adds to that, not just to the character, but it adds to the foundation of what community is. It speaks to the breadth, it speaks to the depth, the strength of the community, and people feel good about it. So that's not to say that tragedy or circumstances of that nature are good, but it's the response of the community makes you feel good, makes you feel proud, makes you feel like, you know what, I am glad that I live and work and I'm raising my family in Merrickville.
There's been a lot of tragedies here and just outside of town. Sorry, I'm going to get a little emotional because of something that happened outside of Merrickville a few years ago where there was 2 drownings, and that affected everybody. When it does happen, people really rally together, and we have a lot of fundraisers for a sick little girl and now for Brian.
My name is Brian Rowland. I'm 29 years old. I love dirt biking. This spring I was involved in an accident. I was riding at a friend's track, and as soon as I hit the jump, my bike ran out of gas and it just felt like I hit a wall of dirt. I knew my life was changed from that moment on. Since I got home, my community's been really supportive, from friends to family, just people coming by to visit me, just checking up on me, people writing little messages to me on Facebook and just being really concerned. Saturday night I had a fundraiser, and a lot of the small local businesses were very supportive. Tons of my friends were there and family. I was just pretty much overwhelmed by being with everyone all at once, and there was never a dull moment for me. Seeing friends that I haven't seen for a long time, and parents of my friends came out to support me. Community support means a lot to me. It's really nice to have a hometown where you go out and people come up to me and ask me how I've been doing, and just they seem really concerned about me. Merrickville is home to me.
Merrickville is home. It's the best feeling. There's the best people, and it's just home. Merrickville is home.
Merrickville is a true home.
I'm Rachel Gilmore for the 25th Hour. We're on campus today asking people what they would do if they had an extra hour in the day.
Well, if I'm still at home, I'd probably load up Netflix and get comfy on my bed, possibly fall asleep. But if I'm at the school, I'll probably go to the library.
Right now, I'd probably do homework. School's really hectic, but normally probably do yoga or something active.
I would draw more and do more painting and sculpting.
If I had an extra hour in the day, I'd probably pretend like I'd do something productive and then end up just either falling asleep or just going on YouTube for an extra hour. But I'd be down for it.
If I had an extra hour in the day, I would stay home and make sure to cook myself a nutritious breakfast.
An extra hour, I would probably take that time and play more guitar.
For most of the folks here at Carleton, one thing seemed to be on their mind.
I think I'd probably sleep.
I would be back home sleeping.
I would just sleep through it. Sleeping's the greatest thing ever. I don't get anywhere near enough, so I mean, you might as well.
I think I would sleep.
Now we're lucky to be joined by 25th Hour host Aishu Ravishankar. So Aishu, if you had an extra hour in your day, how would you spend it?
Well, since I'm a workaholic, I would definitely take that extra hour to make more money and work.
Work? Really? Why would you want to spend your extra hour doing work?
When you love what you do like I do, you want to do it whenever you can. Take Paul Di Rienzo, for example. For 43 years, he has been making sandwiches, pasta, and desserts in Little Italy. And to this day, he still loves his job. Amazed by his commitment, the 25th Hour visited his cozy shop to learn more about the man behind Ottawa's best sandwich.
My sandwiches are supposed to be the very best because we start early in the morning. We use a lot of fresh ingredients all the time. That's how they taste better than usual. We put a little bit of Italian extra virgin olive oil, maybe some garlic, some sun-dried tomatoes. I feel good about having the best sandwiches in Ottawa. Voila. My name is Paolo Di Rienzo, and I'm the owner over here at Di Rienzo Grocery, and I've been doing this for 43 years. My family moved to Canada in 1967. It was very tough for us because we couldn't speak English, we couldn't understand nothing, and it was cold, but after we got used to it. As soon as we started this business, we got a lot of people coming and help us to start, because starting a business in as soon as you come in from another country is very hard. But we got the help of all the Italian people over here. It was just a corner store, but they got started by mistake making sandwiches and pasta and everything else because the roads were closed for about 6 months and all the workers, they wanted something to eat. So we started cooking for them and making sandwiches. It's a good business for everybody, all the nationality. It's good for the generation. All the old people, they come over here, they buy prosciutto, mortadella, and then the second generation come over here and buy the same thing for their kids. And they do keep the tradition.
Forse un giorno così non ritorno mai più.
My family is close to the business because everybody has to give me a hand. I cannot do it anymore by myself. My brother helps me over here. He's in the kitchen, he's cooked. My uncle comes over here. My nieces and nephew come over here. So everybody gets around. This one is still one of the smallest grocery stores left in Ottawa, so they feel like at home, you know. It's just like they used to have 50 years ago in Italy. It's a small place, but you have everything. They chat around, they ask for mortadella, salame, prosciutto, you know. They start to chat with each other. It's just like a reunion here. Ciao, come va?
Good. Yourself?
Good. Some stuff for you?
Please.
Okay. What would you like?
Let's start off with
mortadella.
Paul is my uncle. He's definitely made a huge impact on the community for the amount of years he's been here. Always known for being generous, kind, taking care of others, and putting others before himself. It's very good for the Italians in the community, but especially immigrants who come from Italy to here, because when they come into a shop like ours, they feel like they're at home. They lose that homesickness. They come in, they see a gentleman who speaks Italian, who could relate to them, and that's the biggest experience that I think you could achieve.
My favorite sandwich is Paradiso di Paolo. It's my own invention with
mortadella, capicollo, salame and provolone, and a touch of olive oil.
I'm not planning on retiring, and I think I gotta go for a few more years. In the future, we have to make it a little bit bigger, but still we're gonna keep it the same. We don't want to lose that authentic Italian atmosphere.
In a world of online shopping, seasonal trends, and mass-produced clothing, we turn to the story of an Ottawa woman who's built a life around making women smile. Since she was a teenager, Janine Adamick has been creating custom wedding dresses for women of all shapes and sizes. Now, she's still going strong as the owner of one of Ottawa's oldest custom bridal gown shops.
My name is Janine Adamick, and I'm a bridal gown designer. I started around 15 or maybe even 13 years old, yeah. And I found that, you know, regular clothes didn't fit well. I had long arms, long legs, so I needed to do something about that because I had ideas and I really wanted to wear what I wanted to wear. It was a hobby at one point, of course, and then eventually it grew into a career. And I do remember there was a time when I wondered after high school, do I go into this as a career or do I keep it as my fun hobby? I remember the day sitting in the garden of my past mentor. We were talking about the field and she said, you know, wedding dresses, and it captured my imagination, you know, because you can do career wear and day wear and evening wear, but focusing on one thing appealed to me, and the fantasy and the opportunity to play with beautiful fabrics and beadwork embellishments and formal creativity, it was I said, yeah, that's it, that's fabulous. I love to see the bride feel at home in the dress. Like when she says, oh, this is me, it's the smile. She has to feel confident to have an easy, real smile, not just, you know, the planted smile that you get with a photographer session that's too long and okay, smile again. No, the kind of smile that it comes easily and she's not worried about her dress, she's not tugging on it, she's not pulling on it. And so it's really important. The most common request when we go into custom, I like it, this detail, and this detail. That back, that skirt, that bodice. So we put it together, I sketch it for them. It's usually inspired by the fabric. So reps come to me with delicious laces and fabric, silks and things, and I immediately want to feel it and drape it and see how it wants to mold in the body. There's two main groups, one who likes slender and one who like ball gown. Strapless still is very strong, but more and more are asking for something on the shoulder. And low backs, my heavens, low backs, low backs, as low as you can go. I tell my brides we're really engineers because yes, you want that look in the front, but that look in the back, there are consequences to that. So quite often, oh my gosh, brides are just so intuitive. They know what looks good on their body. I think the fastest was 5 minutes. You know, first dress, into the change room, excited, oh my God, Mom, look at this is amazing. And the rest of the appointment was just being sure and talking about the wedding, and it was almost like backwards. It was wonderful. Like that. I like the hands-on approach. I like the interaction with customers, and I love the mom and pop feel of our shop. It's elegant but it still has that intimate feel, and I like the smaller feel, and my customers do too.
With the federal election almost here, one young man in Ottawa is applying for the job of a lifetime. Carleton University student Dean Harris is defying stereotypes by getting involved in politics, running for Member of Parliament in the Ottawa Centre. As a member of the Libertarian Party of Canada, his chances of winning are slim. But for Dean, This campaign means a lot more than just getting votes.
My name is Dean Harris. I'm 23 years old. I'm a student at Carleton University, and I'm running for Member of Parliament in Ottawa Centre with the Libertarian Party of Canada. I used to be the guy who was going to wear a suit, like back in high school. I was like a really well-dressed high school student, and like now I'm like, oh, fuck this ironing, and wearing a tie and having my neck all bunched up. Yeah, I'm in jeans and t-shirt right now. Libertarianism is all about self-ownership and peace and not forcing people to do what you want to do, what you want them to do. So I decided to get involved to kind of steer the political discourse toward the ideas of libertarianism, because the philosophy of libertarianism is relatively unknown in Canada.
I put a big sign on my front lawn for Trudeau.
Is that right? Well, I'm the Libertarian Party candidate. My name is Dean Harris. Here, I'll give you some information about my campaign. I had been involved for a little bit with the Conservative Party and had started identifying as a libertarian when I found out about the campaign of Ron Paul in 2008 in the presidential race in the United States. So learning about libertarian policies got me to think about, well, why are these policies preferable? And ultimately, as I did more reading in philosophy and economics, it came down to the idea that each person owns themselves, and it's kind of immoral to try to impose your will on someone with force. Hi there, how are you doing? My name is Dean Harris. I'm running with the Libertarian Party for Member of Parliament here in Ottawa Centre. I'm out this afternoon to introduce myself to voters and let them know a little bit about my campaign. Do you have a minute to talk?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. It would be very dangerous to be a libertarian in a lot of countries around the world with authoritarian governments. So that's, I value that, and it's the reason why I feel it's important to promote the ideas of free speech and to make sure that we continue to value those ideas. Best case scenario is I win my seat with like 60–70% of the vote. Probably pretty likely to happen. Worst case scenario, you know, I don't really see too many terrible scenarios. I guess the worst case would be if there were any problem with my registration and for whatever reason my name didn't get on the ballot. I think you're more likely to get struck by lightning, or I'm more likely to win the lottery than to get elected this go around, but that's all right with me. I wouldn't mind winning the lottery.
It's been 4 years since the Supreme Court made its decision surrounding safe injection sites. We now go live to Jeremy Mutton, who's in front of the Supreme Court. Thanks for joining us, Jeremy.
Thanks, Emily. In 2008, then Minister of Health Tony Clement cut Insight's funding. This triggered a bitter legal battle, which finally ended in 2011, with the Supreme Court ordering the federal government to reinstate the funding. Now, this should have paved the way for these sites all across Canada, but 4 years on, Insight remains the only one. Here in Ottawa, advocates such as Sean LeBlanc have been calling for a site downtown. I sat down with Sean to discuss the issue.
I'm Sean LeBlanc. I'm the chairperson of DUAL, which is a Drug Users Advocacy League, and I'm also a peer support worker with Ottawa Inner City Health.
Could you just explain to me how safe injection sites work for a user?
It provides people with a place to use safely. When I was injecting drugs every day, I went to great lengths to just basically get off the street and do the drugs I needed to do to feel normally. And with no harm reduction. You know, I could have overdosed in the bathroom, I could have caught HIV. At the very base level, it prevents all of these things. The one injection site that we have in this country has had over 1,500 overdoses, no fatalities. The HIV rates, the Hep C rates have been cut to almost nothing, the MRSA rates. And more importantly, it's the first step to a lot of people into treatment. You need to be linked up with these services in order to access treatment, access housing, access medical care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're in an alley or by the river injecting drugs or wherever it may be, you know, you're not going to get those services.
Is it anonymous?
Yep, and you know, you can give them any name that you want. It's just basically a way of tracking. We do the same thing in this community when people go to pick up syringes or safe inhalation equipment, just so that we know what populations we may be serving or underserving. Just have a general idea of the people who are using these services are. Mm-hmm. The thing with injecting drugs for most people is that they're doing it for some type of self-medication or to deal with some type of trauma, and then it gets to a point where they're just doing it to feel normal. For my addiction, which lasted years, there was maybe 6 months where I was actually getting quote-unquote high. The rest of the time I was just doing it so I could function normally. So it's really a misnomer. A lot of people don't understand.
How do they specifically reduce harm?
First and foremost, they reduce HIV. Ottawa's got just amongst the highest HIV rates in the country. I think it does have the highest Hep C rates amongst injection drug users in the country. It's going to basically reduce all that. And first and foremost, overdoses. We lose so many people needlessly in this community. I myself could have died, you know, a handful of times, and you know, now I'm a quote-unquote productive member of society, and you know, living a happy, healthy life, and I'm in love, and I'm doing, I think, some good things for my community. And I would never have had that opportunity, you know, if I just took a little turn this way or a little turn that way. Well, it's just basically good fortune, you know.
It's been 4 years since the Insight case, and Insight remains the only safe injection site in Canada. Why does Ottawa not have one?
We have no support from especially the mayor nor the chief of police. I find that extremely disheartening, frankly disgusting. You know, we've got the highest court in this land unanimously saying that this is a proven healthcare initiative, and this current government has done nothing but make it harder and harder to establish similar sites. You know, supervised injection sites are not pretty, but there's over 90 sites in this world, you know, in all different types of countries, and you know, it's reduced crime in those areas, it's significantly reduced disease and overdose. And you know, people have injected drugs for a long time, they're going to continue to inject drugs, and we just want to provide a safe way for them to do that until the point where they're really going to make changes.
Do you think public opinion in Ottawa is a barrier?
I don't think so anymore. I think initially it was. I think it's really started to change. I think there's been some really good work in this community. I really think it's really turned the corner now. It's just that the powers that be aren't listening yet. All this was done with basically no inclusion of people who are currently using, and that's not acceptable to us. These rules were set up by people that neither know the situation nor how to fix the situation. They are not experts in it, and I just hope that people really take that into consideration when they're voting. I know I certainly will be.
Sometimes people end up taking on causes they never thought they would have to.
Take Donna May, for example. Troubled by the guilt of her daughter's drug-related death, this mother has become an advocate for safe injection sites and for drug users to get clean. With her advice, she hopes that no other parent will have to go through what she did.
I had no idea whether I was going to be visiting her in a morgue or whether she'd still be alive. Jack was a very beautiful girl. She was witty. You can walk into her room and she just commanded it. She was a mother of 3. She was a contributing member of society, just like everybody else's child. Her addiction began after a prescription for OxyContin. She had fallen down a flight of stairs into the basement and had injured herself. And the OxyContin not only took away the pain, she found that it also worked at quelling her anxiety. I wasn't aware that Jack's addiction could be in my hands until I received a phone call telling me that she had presented in a hospital emergency room with flesh-eating disease, and that it was quite likely that she was going to lose her life. My practice of tough love only perpetuated the situation. And what was I going to do now? And I got the opportunity to ask her. She woke up, she came out of the coma. I went to her and I said, look, what do you want to do with what's left of the time that you have? What is it that you want to accomplish? And she said only one thing, to teach me, and then to have me use that experience to help others. My very first speaking engagement was in front of the Toronto Board of Health when they asked me to, well, I asked to be deposed to speak about the need for safe injection sites and why it was important to me. And I don't think I realized how important it was to me at the time until I got speaking. I've been asked how I get up in the morning and keep doing this and keep going on and what drives me to do this and how can I do this? And the answer is I don't know. I wake up sad every single morning. Why do I do it? So that another mother doesn't have to wake up sad every single morning. I do it for Jack. My daughter is proud of everything that I'm doing. I get confirmation all the time. It's just like a shiver will go through me and it's like, yeah, Mom, I know what you're doing and you're doing it great. You're doing it damn great. I find strength in that. If you want to know how I go on, how I get up in the morning, it's knowing. It's just knowing that I'm fulfilling her last wish. And I think that it's important that people like myself that have gone through the experience get out there in the community and say, I know what you're going through, Mom and Dad and brother and sister and aunt and uncle. The support that you need is here, and let me help you, get you directed to it. The last day that Jack was with us, she got up in the morning and it was the best that I had seen her in weeks. And I went into the washroom and I could hear an echoing of a snoring. And I thought, that doesn't sound right. It's not just simple snoring. Something else is happening. And it was like an instinct, and I just rushed out. I don't even know if I pulled up my trousers. And I just galloped up the stairs, and she was well into an overdose. And I reacted. I started CPR. I screamed for 911. It was like everything was out of my hands. Like, what happens now? Is this going to happen today? Is this the end? Am I never going to say hello, goodbye, kiss you? Any of that. What is going to happen now? After having so much hope in the morning and 8 o'clock at night comes and it's like, it's gone. It's gone.
Wow, that was a touching story.
I know. I just couldn't imagine having to describe the same sad story again and again and again.
Me either. It's something no mother should ever have to go through.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing, though, how all these experiences kind of shape the direction of a person's life.
That's what this program's all about, exploring people's passions.
Well, that's all we have for today. For the 25th hour, I'm Olivia Ho.
And I'm Emily Hadouch. Thanks for watching, Ottawa. sing the rest of the script.
People out of me. Start like three.
Too fast, right?
These birds are like dying.
Sorry.
Stand strong.
Rise up, rise up.
I want to cry because that was so bad.
Carleton School of Journalism and Communication. Carleton School